ummah, who would represent the nation? Some would say, does it matter? Something has happened 1400 years ago. Why do we have to go back and argue about something that took place in the time of antiquity and quarrel about it and disagree about it? What's the point? Does it matter? Yes, it matters. Why? Because the one who came after the Prophet, he also set the legacy. Maybe the person is dead, he's gone, but his legacy stayed. His rulings stayed. His command stayed. The way that I perform the prayers, the way that when I go to Hajj and I perform my pilgrims, the way that I conduct my life when I do my ahkam, the regulations of Allah, all depends on that person, because that person has shown me how to follow. Yes, we have the Quran. The Quran is the book of guidance, but not everything included in Quran. Not every subject included in Quran. Quran has directed us to whom to follow, right? And then God Himself has said that on Day of Judgment, every group of people will be called upon based on their leaders. يَوْمَ نَدْعُو كُلَّ إِنَاسٍ بِإِمَامِهِمْ. You cannot have a free ride on the Day of Judgment. Every group of people have to be led by their leaders. Whoever you took in this world, in this life, to be your leader, tomorrow in the Day of Judgment will also lead you. Now, if he's a good person, someone that God has appointed, he will lead you to heaven. If he has not been appointed by God and he has misled you, you know where he's going to lead you. To Jahannam. That's what the ayah says. The ayah says that those people who will be guided through their leaders on the Day of Judgment, يَوْمَ نَدْعُو كُلَّ إِنَاسٍ بِإِمَامِهِمْ فَمَنْ أُوتِيَ كِتَابَهُ بِيَمِينِهِ فَأُولَٰئِكَ يَقْرَؤُونَ كِتَابَهُمْ وَلَا يُظْلَمُونَ فَتِيلًا. If those people who came by their guides and they were on the true path, on the right path, their books, their files are given in the right hands, and therefore they will be succeeding. However, if they have been misled and took a wrong guide and wrong leader to lead them, then at that time, وَمَنْ كَانَ فِي هَذِهِ أَعْمَى, whoever was in this world, in this life, was blindfolded, meaning that he said, okay, it doesn't matter, I take X or Y, without verification, without scrutinizing and understanding who's the leader. وَمَنْ كَانَ فِي هَذِهِ أَعْمَى, whoever was in this world blind and blindfolded, فَهُوَ فِي الْآخِرَةِ أَعْمَى. On the Day of Judgment, he will be resurrected as a blind. He cannot see. وَأَضَلُّ سَبِيلًا, even will be more misguided. Why? Because of the leader. So choosing a leader, yes, it happened 1400 years ago, but it was not an isolated incident. After that, there were so many repercussions, so many laws and regulations that based on that person we are following today. And we know all, brothers and sisters, that the great prophet lived for 23 years. His prophethood was 23 years. 13 years was in Mecca. And 10 years was in Medina. In those 13 years in Mecca, the whole message was revolving around one theme. And you know what that theme is. Was Tawheed. Kalimat la ilaha illallah. There is no Lord but God. For 13 years, the Prophet diligently tried to convince the pagans of Mecca, the mushrikeen, the idol worshippers, that there is God, and God is the greatest, for 13 years. Now, when he moved to Medina and he established his civil society, at that time the laws, regulations all came one by one. Fastings, prayers, Hajj, alms taxes, purification, all kind of laws came when? In those 10 years. And he never stopped from teaching the people, his companions, about those great laws and regulations. Yet, the time was not enough. Could he give all those rights and regulations to everyone? No. Even the biggest schools of thought today, sometimes if they want to refer to a certain decree and they cannot trace it to the Prophet, they trace it to the Sahaba, the companion. There were so many incidents, so many things happened after him, after the Prophet, peace be upon him, that we had no idea what he did or what he would think about that or what would be his decision. Therefore, they would refer it to his companions. So eventually, there were so many laws and regulations that during his time were left hidden, were not explained. So who would guide you? And here's the point. That's the whole argument. Who deserves the leadership? Ahlul Bayt school of thought, they say it is Ahlul Bayt, alayhum salam, the household of the Prophet, and spearheaded by Ali ibn Abi Talib alayhi salam. Why? Because we have a direct decree, a divine decree from God to appoint Ali ibn Abi Talib after the Prophet to lead the nation. Now, set this one aside, because the other group does not believe in this. We say, fine. You don't believe that there is a divine decree for that. I will come back later to explain that. But for a moment, let's take it for granted that there is no divine decree from God and no appointment from God for the leadership. What are those qualities? This is a simple question. In any leader, what are those qualities that a leader should be entitled to and should enjoy in order to be a ruler for the Muslim nation? They tell you, of course, this is the books of theologies in the great Muslim scholars that have written. They tell you that there are 3 qualities that any leader should have. Number 1, knowledge. The person who leads should be the most knowledgeable one. Or he should have enough knowledge, first of all, to prove the authenticity of religion of Islam, to tell them that this is to prove it and shows the evidence that Islam is a true religion of God, to refute fallacies. There are many fallacies, many arguments come to the leader, and he has to refute those in logic, of course, by argument, by logical arguments, and by knowledge to refute those, and help people to join more in Islam, to be more, to include more people who declare their Islam and enjoy it. Of course, those who declare their Islam, they have to do it by their acceptance, by their minds and hearts. And this is not done unless they are convinced logically and rationally to accept Islam. So he should be capable of that, and to be able to extract the Islamic laws from Quran and from the Sunnah of the Prophets. That's number 1 criteria, knowledge. The second criteria is justice. Justice has 2 parts. One is to follow God's commands, meaning he should be obedient to God's orders, meaning that he has to do his 5 daily prayers. He has to be fasting. He has to pay taxes, religious taxes, and does zakat, go to Hajj. And in addition to those, he also has to be a just ruler, meaning that he should treat everybody by fairness, in equality. He should not be a tyrant. He should not commit any oppression against any person in his society. So that's the second criteria. The third criteria is the courage. He should be courageous enough to defend the integrity, the territorial integrity of Islamic nation. He should be able to manage the wars, to shore up support of people in case some enemy attacks the Islamic nation, and defend that nation, and recruit people for battles, and at the same time be courageous enough to deflect any attack by external enemy. If those 3 things fit anyone, that person deserves to govern. We say perfect. Now, we have examples. We know who succeeded the prophets, and let's take those qualities that they have said and put them on each of those successors to see which one will be the best fitting of those three. When we talk about knowledge, once you mention knowledge, and those what I am reciting, brothers and sisters, those narrations, those ahadith that I am saying, none came from the Shia school of thought. They are basically from the great Muslim scholars' books, from our Sunni brothers section. It is not within the Shia. Number one, if you listen to Ali ibn Abi Talib, he said, علمني رسول الله ألف باب من العلم يفتح لي من كل باب ألف باب. That the Prophet has taught me 1,000 doors, 1,000 kinds of knowledge. From each kind, there is 1,000 kinds of knowledge. That's number one. He, in his time when he was a ruler, many times he said, "Saluni qabla an tafquduni." Ask me before you miss me. Ask me about anything you want. Still, we don't hold them responsible for those ahadith. Why? Because the narrator is Ali ibn Abi Talib himself. So they would say, okay, he's claiming, you need to verify those. We will go after ahadith that Ali ibn Abi Talib himself did not narrate. This hadith is narrated in more than 28 sources. أنا مدينة العلم وعلي بابها. I am city of knowledge, and Ali is the door, is the gate of that city. What does it mean? Mean that if I need to reach the knowledge of the Prophet, there is only one gate. I have to go through that gate, and that gate is Ali ibn Abi Talib. That has been narrated into more than 28 sources. And if you are interested in to see those addresses, I will be happy to provide them for you. The second hadith, again, is listed in many resources in the Islamic books by the great Muslim scholars. As they say, Rasulullah, the Prophet has told Imam Ali, أنت تبين لأمتي ما اختلفوا فيه من بعدي. You will tell my nation, you will explain my nation whatever that they have differed on. This is the word after me. Rasulullah is telling Imam Ali that after me you will explain to my nation whatever that they differ on that. Again, this is narrated in many books. Among them is As-Sawa'iq al-Muhriq. It is somebody who's Amawi, wrote this book, and he has said this, narrated this hadith in their books. A third one, this ayah says, لِنَجْعَلَهَا لَكُمْ تَذْكِرَةً وَتَعِيَهَا أُذُنٌ وَاعِيَةٌ. Allah in one verse says that I will make this sign as a reminder and hope there is an ear that can contain everything, contain the revelation. Once this ayah was descended to the Prophet raised his hand and said, may Allah make the ear of Ali ibn Abi Talib the containing ear. You know what wa'iyah is? Wa'iyah comes from wa'a. Wa'a comes from container, meaning that you contain the thing. When you contain, meaning that you engulf the whole thing. Meaning that the ear of Ali ibn Abi Talib engulfed the entire revelation that God has given to the Prophet. Anything that God has given to the Prophet, it was contained by the ear of Ali ibn Abi Talib alayhi salam. Sallu ala Muhammadin wa ali Muhammad. Allahumma salli ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad. According to Muslim scholars, whenever there is a dispute between any companion and Ali ibn Abi Talib regarding any issue that pertains to religion and faith and laws and regulation, the opinion of Ali ibn Abi Talib is